Hey, thanks for joining us for our Sunday message online. You're about to listen to a talk recorded live from one of our Sunday gatherings. For more information about when and where we meet together, then please head over to bracklatabernacle.org.
Joy to the world, for the Lord is come. The 21st of December, which of course today is, for me is absolutely the worst day of the year. Without being too morbid about stuff, we've all got bad days of the year, but the 21st of December undoubtedly is the worst day of the year. Any guesses why? It's the shortest day of the year. The day where we are covered in darkness for pretty much most of the day. In Bridgend County this morning, the sun rose at 8:17 a.m. and set at 16:07 p.m. We've had less than 8 hours of sunlight today. That is a joke. No sun with clouds and a bit of rain. Not this sort of lovely white, snowy, picturesque type of thing that we all have in our minds at Christmas, but generally dark, wet, cold, yes? Coupled with that, I think we've got the gloomiest, most miserable days. Bring on the 21st of June, 2026. The day of the year with the most sunlight, although probably, again, not in Bridgend County. And so in the Northern Hemisphere, December the 21st, of course, is the darkest, or rather the shortest day of sunlight in the year. But of course, our clever old calendar makers, as such, into the darkness, into the gloom of winter, we have Christmas. Hooray! And so just a few days later, after the 21st of December, comes the 25th of December. We have Christmas Day. And so just a few days later, when things are slowly getting brighter by about 4 minutes every day, but I'll take those 4 minutes. By those 4 minutes every day, we are getting brighter and brighter, and Christmas comes. Woohoo. And unless, in the Hopkins household, unless there's, I don't know about you, you might be one of those very peculiar people that might enjoy a Christmas swim down in the sea in Porthcawl or something like that. In the Hopkins household, no one's really bothered, I don't think, about whether or not it's sunny or not on Christmas Day. We'll just hunker down. We don't care what happens outside. And so the brightness of the physical sort of day doesn't make a jot of difference to us. But in the gloom of winter, we get Christmas. At least in the Northern Hemisphere, of course. If you lived in New Zealand or South Africa or Argentina or Australia, Christmas is spent in glorious sunshine at the height of summer. Anyone jealous right now? We'll ignore them for now. Into the gloom of our winter, Christmas comes in the mix. The Bible readings that we've had read tonight, the songs that we've sung, reflect and talk about this baby born at Bethlehem, this Jesus. And the Bible tells us clearly of what we've read and heard already this evening, that this Jesus isn't just, or wasn't just, an ordinary baby. He was anything but an ordinary baby. He wasn't an ordinary baby born in an ordinary way. The Bible doesn't allow us to put Jesus into just the box that so many people around us might put him in as oh, well, he's a nice, good teacher. The Bible doesn't allow us to box Jesus into that. I was at an event recently where the guest sort of speaker was invited to respond to questions from the floor, and one of the questions was a question about religion. Anyone know that in any context that would be one of the most divisive things to start talking about? Anyway, someone asked him his opinion on something within a religious context, and this guy said that he was sort of believed in Jesus, and he said, I think he's a good teacher. From what I understand and what I've read, he was a nice guy, but I don't believe he turned wine into water. water into wine. He said, sorry, Tesco does the other one. That was his joke, not mine, but it was you. He was a nice guy, a good teacher, but that's where it lands. The Bible, however, does not allow us that kind of judgment. It makes the most extraordinary claims about this baby born at Bethlehem. The most extraordinary claims that Jesus, as we've read tonight, was born to a woman who had not been impregnated like every other woman who has ever given birth before or since. Jesus' mother, the Bible tells us, was a virgin at the time of his birth. The gospel writers tell us that angels told Jesus' mother Mary and his earthly father Joseph that what was conceived in her was from the Holy Spirit. That takes some explaining. It tells us that shepherds keeping watch of their flocks by night were suddenly startled by the great sound and the spectacle of heaven's angels opening the sky and declaring that they should go into the neighboring Bethlehem to see and find a baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. For he is going to bring great news of incredible joy. He's going to be the Saviour, Christ the Lord. The Bible tells us of wise men from the east following a star, landing in the place where this child was found. And they, when they see him, worship him and present their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. This was no ordinary child and certainly no ordinary birth. And so it all sounds a bit fantastical and maybe a bit too far-fetched. But the gospel writers also tell us about his later part of life. What he said when he grew, what he did, what he taught, and how in his early 30s he was tried in a sham court and brutally executed by crucifixion on the charges of blasphemy and the threat of overturning the Roman order. And so a very, very short life with some intrigue and mystery and not a small amount of wonder. You'd think, okay, well, there we are, just drift into the sands of time. And yet, the baby born at Bethlehem still captures a phenomenal amount of attention. Today, whether we're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, and just in case you need to pinch yourself, we are very much in the northern hemisphere, look outside. In winter gloom or summer sunshine, this same Jesus is the object of the allegiance of millions of people. It's estimated right now that 2 billion people on earth put their faith in this Jesus. In China alone, it's estimated that there are over 100 million Christians. In a nation of a population of 1 billion, there's 10% of Chinese people have put their trust in Jesus. 1 in 3 people on earth claim an allegiance towards him. Stats tell us that 175,000 people today will for the first time put their trust in this baby born at Bethlehem. 3,000 churches will be planted every week in this next year. The baby born at Bethlehem continues to attract extraordinary and significant interest for just a story that we think of one time a year. Despite our Western culture doing its very best to ignore him, even out of Christmas, we sort of ignore him. Just look at the adverts on our TV screens or our social media posts. And what on earth is Tesco's advert doing this year? I don't know. What are they all about? Despite our culture pushing him out and replacing him with Santa and stockings and mince pies and everything else, despite communist China or the Islamic Republic in Iran or secular society or modern atheism, Jesus, the baby born at Bethlehem, continues to garner loads and loads of interests and loads of followers. Why? because the baby born at Bethlehem is Christ the Lord. When Isaac Watts wrote the hymn, the carol that we've just sung, Joy to the World, the Lord is come, us in our 21st century education might want to correct him. I'm from Iseg, and so I have a better standard of education than most of you here. And so we'd go, joy to the world, the Lord, surely the Lord is come. No. Surely it's the Lord has come. Get your grammar right, Isaac. You lunatic. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. But Isaac Watts was right, because his song implies the very real, near presence of the Lord who was and will and is come. Jesus, the light of the world, who died so that anyone who puts their faith in him could know the forgiveness of a God from the sin that all of us would have committed in the sight of a holy God. This same Jesus who rose from the dead so that anyone who puts their faith in him could know the eternal love and joy of God. This Jesus who ascended to the Father and is coming back for us. This Jesus has come to live and love and show and point and save with a love that can flood into a human heart and put everything to rest. Jesus is come. And 2 billion people on earth know it. And 175,000 people today will have the joy of accepting this Jesus as their Lord. In the midst of the gloom of winter, we are glad here, I guess, to have Christmas come. And in the middle of the gloom of our lives, and the lives of all of us, our fear of death, or meaninglessness, or sometimes that pang of emptiness or loneliness, into our confusion and anger and distress or despair, into our complacency or our arrogance or even our pride, into the gloom of a human heart. Joy to the world. The Lord is come. And he comes knocking at the door of a heart, wondering if you'd let him in. Jesus into the gloom of darkness comes. 3 days ago, I was at the bedside of Margaret Evans, one of the lovely, faithful, wonderful women of this church family, who yesterday passed away and went to be with her Lord. On Thursday evening, I chatted to her as she was sick, clearly in bed, and asked her if she thought that this sickness was the end. And she said, yes. And I said to her, are you afraid? And she said, no. Into the midst of the gloom and the darkness of death, joy to the world, for the Lord is come. And that dear, wonderful woman had put her faith in this Jesus. Like loads of us in this room have put our faith in Jesus. Like 2 billion people on this earth have put our faith in Jesus. And so when the gloom comes, joy to the world, for the very real, near presence of this King Jesus is come. Joy to the world, the Lord is come, Isaac Watts wrote. Let earth receive her King. I was 17 years old when I put my personal faith in Jesus. When I invited and asked and responded to the good news that God loved me enough to die for me. rose from the dead in order to win for me my salvation. I was 17 when I put my trust in this Jesus and asked him to forgive my sin and come into my life. And oh my goodness, joy to the world. The Lord is come. When I moved from a place of hearing about someone to knowing this Jesus, what he says about my life and my need of God, I moved from hearing about and believing to believing in and knowing. And joy came to this bit of earth. Christmas is a lovely bit of shininess in the gloom of like a Bridgend County winter, for us at least. But Jesus Christ is the eternal joy to the gloom of a human heart. And you are invited to know this Christ and receive him now, for he knocks at the door of your heart to wonder if you let him in. Joy to the world. The Lord is